Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Organon and Company OGN just filed a Form 8, and it looks like a major acquisition is on the horizon, changing the whole game for the company. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. This filing reveals Organon is being bought out by Sun Pharma, and the price tag is pretty eye-watering. Alright, so what we have here is a filing that basically tells the world Organon and Company is officially set to be acquired. The deal was agreed upon on the 26th of April, 2026. This is not just any deal. It is a big one, with Sun Pharmaceutical Industries Limited from India essentially buying out Organon. This is a huge move for Organon and its shareholders. Let's dive into the details of this agreement. Organon, or the company as they call it here, has signed a plan to merge with Sun Pharmaceutical Holdings USA, Incorporated. This means Organon will become a wholly owned subsidiary of Sun Pharma. It's a classic acquisition structure. Here is what really matters to shareholders. For every share of Organon stock you own, you are going to get $14 in cash. That's a pretty sweet deal, especially considering this offer comes with a 103% premium. That means they are paying more than double what the stock was worth just before rumors started swirling about a potential sale. Specifically, this offer is based on Organon's stock price before the 10th of April 2026, when news first broke about possible talks with Sun Pharma. Sun Pharma has apparently lined up all the necessary funding, including debt financing, to make this happen, and even to pay off some of Organon's existing debts. Now, let's talk about what this means for employees holding company stock options and other equity awards. For stock options, outstanding options, whether they are currently exercisable or not, will be cancelled. The value you get will be the difference between the $14 per S-share buyout price and your options exercise price, assuming that exercise price is lower than $14. If your options exercise price is $14 or more, those options will be cancelled with no payout. So it's good news for options with a lower exercise price, but not so much if your exercise price is high. For restricted stock units or RSUs, there is a split depending on when they were granted. If you have RSUs granted before 2026, they will essentially be cashed out immediately at the $14 per S-share price, even if they were not yet fully vested. This is called acceleration. However, for RSUs granted in 2026 or later, they will be assumed by Sun Pharma, but converted into a cash award that will be paid out as they vest. So the older USs get their cash now, while the newer ones will be paid out over time as they vest, with some exceptions for qualifying job terminations. Performance stock units, or SUS, follow a similar pattern. For those granted before 2026, they will also accelerate and be paid out in cash at the $14 per S-share price, based on the target performance goals. For SUS granted in 2026 or later, they will be converted into cash awards by Sun Pharma. These will also be paid out as they vest, but importantly, they will no longer be subject to performance-based conditions. Instead, they'll be based on service-based vesting, and like the RS, they will also vest and be paid out in full if there is a qualifying termination of employment. Now, this deal isn't completely done yet. There are several conditions that need to be met before the merger is finalized. One of the most important is that Organon's shareholders have to vote and approve this deal. They'll need a majority of the votes to make it happen. There are also regulatory approvals needed, especially from antitrust authorities in different countries, to make sure this merger doesn't create any unfair market competition. They also need to ensure no legal orders pop up that could block the deal, and that Organon hasn't experienced any major negative business events since the agreement was signed. There is also a no-shop clause in the agreement, which is pretty standard. This means Organon can't actively go out and look for other buyers or entertain other offers. However, there are some carve-outs. If Organon receives an unsolicited serious proposal from another company, its board can consider it if they believe it is a better deal than the one with Sun Pharma. They can then engage in talks, but only under specific conditions and timelines outlined in the agreement, and they have to consult with their legal and financial advisors. The board can also change its recommendation to shareholders in certain situations, typically if a significantly superior offer emerges. Once the deal is finalized, Organon stock will disappear from the New York Stock Exchange. It will be delisted and deregistered pretty quickly after the merger closes, usually within 10 days. This means it will no longer be a publicly traded company. Now, if for some reason this deal doesn't go through, or if Organon decides to walk away to accept a better offer, there is a penalty. Organon would have to pay Sun Pharma a termination fee of $120 million. This is designed to compensate the buyer for their time and effort if the seller backs out for a better deal. Moving on to leadership changes, Joseph Morrissey, who was serving as the interim chief executive officer since October 2025, has now been appointed the permanent CEO. This is a significant step in solidifying leadership as the company navigates this acquisition. No changes were made to his compensation or benefits for this permanent appointment. Similarly, Carrie S. Cox, who was the interim executive chair, has now been appointed to the role on a non-interim or permanent basis. Again, no changes to her compensation were made for this permanent appointment, so it looks like the existing leadership is being kept in place as the company moves forward, at least for now. To go along with this filing, Organon and Sun Pharma also issued a joint press release on the 26th of April 2026. This release officially announced the merger agreement and is included as an exhibit with this filing. This is standard practice when such a significant deal is struck. They also mentioned that Organon will be filing more documents with the SEC, including a proxy statement. This is where they will provide all the detailed information for shareholders to review before voting on the deal. It's crucial for shareholders to read these documents carefully when they become available to make an informed decision. As with any public announcement about a future event like a merger, there are what are called forward-looking statements in here. These are basically educated guesses about what might happen in the future, like when the merger will be completed or what its benefits might be. The company is essentially saying these are predictions based on current information, but things could change. They warn that actual results might be different from what they expect due to various risks and uncertainties. And finally, the most important document is Exhibit 2.1, which is the actual agreement and plan of merger itself. This is the legally binding document detailing all the terms and conditions of the acquisition. It is a pretty dense legal document, but it governs the entire transaction. There are also other exhibits like the joint press release and, importantly, the interactive data file for regulatory compliance. So, what is the bottom line here? Organon and company is being acquired by Sun Pharma for $14 per S-share in cash, representing a significant premium for shareholders. This move is set to transform Organon into a private entity, delisting it from the stock exchange. While the deal requires shareholder approval and regulatory clearance, the terms suggest a done deal for most investors, especially those holding stock. The leadership seems stable with the interim CEO and chair now taking on permanent roles. The main story here is the cash payout for shareholders and the end of Organon as an independent public company. What I'm watching for is how quickly all these regulatory approvals will come through, and if any competing bids emerge, although the no-shop clause makes that less likely. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description.